I wasn't ready, but so why don't we go around and I think we have maybe a new face or two. Roger anyway, and then if Jarrett is able to show up, he's a new member as well. So I'll start. I'm Patty Hoke Meluish in the Environmental Department, City of Battle Creek.
Bessie Steers, City of Battle Creek Environmental Department.
Kurt Trivet, Engineering Administrator, so all things engineering.
Okay, Kiona.
Kiona Ackley joining remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay, how about Kathy?
Hello, Kathy Antea, remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm a retired resident and general tree hugger. Thank you.
Okay, Roger. Oh, you're muted.
Still muted.
We can't hear you. Can I unmute it? No.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Ballard. Look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. How about Bob?
I'm Bob Gilbert. I'm a community volunteer signed in remotely from Battle Creek.
Okay, Janine?
Good afternoon, community volunteer. Signed in for my 8th floor apartment.
All right. Barry?
Hi, and CEO for Noto Wasapi here in Banner, the Potawatomi, and I'm in my office today.
All right, thank you. And Frank?
Hi, Frank Drury, community volunteer, live from Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'll pull up the, we'll get the minutes out of the way here first. Let's see, you gotta share.
Can Janine and Frank say where they're at? What city?
Oh, I'm happy to. I'm downtown Battle Creek.
Yeah, I thought I did. Yep, Battle Creek, Michigan.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, well, I'm gonna pull up, we'll get the minutes out of the way here, get that. Oh, hang on, we got a new face here. This is Jarrett. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, so I'm Jarrett Gearing. I serve as the city engineer for the city of Battle Creek. Patty said there was an opening on this committee. I did just get a lead certification. So serving on it kind of serves two things. I get to help Battle Creek and I get my continuing education to keep my certification. So excited to be here and see what we can do.
All right, well, thank you, Eric. So these are the minutes, and the only edit that I had for the minutes was that it says agenda instead of minutes. But that's the only edit that I had. Does anyone else have any edits to the minutes from December 12th? All right, if not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 12th with the correction?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kiona, second. Oh, okay.
Okay. We'll give that one to Kiona and then all approved. Say aye, raise your hand. All right. Got it. Thank you. All right, we will now go to the agenda. Where did it go? Hang on, bear with me. There we go.
I have a clarification. This is Roger.
Sure.
Am I a voting member on this one? I belong to several and some I am and some I'm not. So.
Kurt believes that you are.
Okay, if it changes, let me know. Thanks.
Okay. All right, let's see. Now I need to pull up. Oh, geez. Minutes. There it is, hiding right there. Hang on. Okay, I'm just gonna pull it up again. Maybe. Oh, where did I put it? You guys saw me get it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Where is it?
What you're looking for.
The agenda. Let me pull this up. There it
Yeah,
is.
if you're-
Okay, all right. Okay,
So
yes,
this is-
Roger,
yes,
you are a
Roger.
voting member. So,
Okay, thanks.
thanks, Lisa. Okay. All right, here is the agenda. So we will do a quick environmental program updates. Franklin, do you want to say something about the Fell Park cleanup? I know you had brought that up, and we did get confirmation from Field Services here in the city that they would be willing to pick up trash if you wanted to organize something there at Fell Park.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Kathy were talking a little bit about that too. I don't know if she brought that to the attention of the NPC meeting, but yeah, I love to organize something. Maybe this weekend I'm open. You know, if people want to get together.
All right, if you can give us, I'm guessing maybe a week or two in advance, just so we know, because Field Services right now, they're gonna be pretty swamped with the stick and branch cleanup, so we might want to give them a little heads up. But go ahead, Bessie.
I wonder if I can get permission for them to use the dumpster, maybe if they could, I mean, they could clean it up and if they could just take the bags to, you know, one of our dumpsters maybe, but I can clear that with Todd.
Okay.
If there's trusted people that will let, you know, do that. Okay.
Kathy, did you have a question?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. So, Frank, I loved your enthusiasm, and as soon as you said this weekend, I was like freaking out. Okay. So the NPC, our Urbandale NPC is indeed, there is some enthusiasm in the group in general for doing a Fell Park cleanup. And I think that if we give it a little, if we do a little more planning, we might be able to get a, you know, a significant number of people to help. And maybe it's on several weekends. We can talk about those details, Frank. And I would be willing to bet that I would be considered a, whatever you were calling them, Patty, as far as a trusted person to use the dumpster. Because I involve myself with city dumpster stuff all the time. So I'm betting they'd be okay with that. And I'd willingly volunteer by truck to haul trash and all that stuff too, Frank. But I think you and I need to have a specific conversation outside of this meeting. And knowing full well that Patty and Bessie are supportive of this idea. So thank you for bringing it up. And I assure you that there's lots we can talk about it. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. You know, and it's really not a huge site to clean. Sometimes I walk there quite regularly and I figure, man, maybe I'll just bring a couple of trash bags with me and just pick away at it. Cause it's, but yeah, I think if we hit it, you know, a few people or whatever, I don't have a vehicle to transport bags or anything, but I'm more than willing, you know, get some gloves on and just kind of stack them up or whatever. I was walking through there yesterday too and noticed that there were some downed trees over the the paved trail in there too. So I'm sure someone will be out there to cut those up too, because right now a vehicle can't get access on that road.
Okay, thanks.
Well, that could be, if you're a volunteer group, I know our crews are going to be busy. We are more than happy to lend out our trash grabbers, buckets, gloves. We have bow saws. I mean, if it's, yeah, trash bags, we can supply those things for a cleanup group. So, yeah, just want you to know that resource is there. And I've been wanting to get onto an NPC meeting. I've been meaning to reach out to, I think, the guy who oversees them all. So if you'd like me to come to one of yours, just let me know.
Yes,
Very
yes,
cool.
we want you.
Is Kendall Street?
Unrelated topic, but when is your NPC meeting?
NPC number 5, which is the Urbandale NPC, meets on the second Monday of every month at 7 p.m.
And where is that meeting?
It's at 65 North Bedford Road, just north of Michigan Avenue on the west side of Bedford. It's Christ United Methodist Church.
Okay, you may see me show up to one.
That would be rocking cool too. We like guests.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Well, we'll await more news on that from when you get a plan, and we're supportive, so. Community-
I'm
oh, go ahead.
sorry. I just want to say, I'm gonna put my email in the chat. Do we have a chat box here?
Should.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll find the chat and I'll put my email in there. And we can get you, I'm not sure who it was that Garrett that said he wanted to come to our meeting. We can get you on the agenda, Garrett.
Okay,
I'll correct it now. It's Jarrett, just so you know, it's not awkward in 6 months from now.
Thank
So,
you.
Yep,
Appreciate
you
you,
bet.
Patty.
Yeah. So the next thing, I know part of our sustainability plan, much of it is based on establishing a baseline greenhouse gas inventory for the city and community. And we've been, I don't have much more to say on that other than we are interested in looking for maybe an organization, a company that does that, so we can have a community-wide inventory. I know Bob's going to show us what he's been doing with the city's transit data, which is really cool. But it's taken a lot of his time, and it will continue to take a lot of time. And so we thought we should, look into potentially getting it done professionally, so it can be comparable to other cities' inventories as well. But we're just looking at, I've had the hardest time getting information on places that will do that for us and costs. So we're in the process of looking for that and potential funding. But what kind of sparked that? We sat through a webinar that Grand Rapids had put on, and they did a community-wide greenhouse gas inventory, and it was striking how just some of the things you don't think about were really contributing a lot, such as recreational vehicles was the one that really struck me, and that's like boats and ATVs and all those fun vehicles. And that wasn't even on my radar. But so anyway, stay tuned for that. We're investigating that. And then this might be a good time, Bob. Do you want to do a quick overview of what you did? It's pretty cool. So
I can do that. Patty, can I share my screen?
I'm stopping to, I hope you can. Jessica's, I think, here if we need sharing privileges.
It looks like I can.
Okay.
So it looks like it's free now. I should be able to do that. Is that showing up?
There it is.
Okay. So as Patty was saying, for those I haven't met, again, I'm Bob Gilbert. I'm just a community volunteer. And I've been working with Patty and Bessie on getting some transit data in vehicle information, miles driven, type of fuel use and everything. And we were looking to, in the sustainability plan, we were looking to kind of track the emissions that come from those vehicles. So I finally have made some headway on this, and I've got a database behind all of this, but it's not very great to look at. So I put all this in a PowerPoint to just kind of summarize it. So what we came up with was this first slide I have here is just a reminder how we got on this idea as part of the 2021 sustainability plan. Points number 1 and 2 down there are quotes right out of the sustainability plan. The first thing was to determine a method for tracking greenhouse gas emissions of city vehicles. That was something we wanted to have done in 2022. We're running a little bit behind that, but it is complete now. So I think we've established a method that we can do it. And then the goal of tracking this was to reduce overall fuel use, looking at fuel costs, and of course, reducing the greenhouse gas emissions themselves. So Patty and Bessie, and I think with the help of an intern in the transit department, they provided quite a bit of data to me that I was able to analyze. This is just a little bit of summary of what I got. There were data points. There were about 3,900 data points. I went through all of those data points. There were some that were unusable, so I ended up being able to use 2,700 of those points. As far as I know, according to the Battle Creek City wiki page, there are 24 transit vehicles. I have not confirmed this, so that number could be off, but that is the one displaying on their wiki page. I was given 7 different vehicles. So we did a subset sample of this 24 or 20 some vehicles that they were having. That was always kind of the plan, that we would just do a subsample of them. So the data that I analyzed, did greenhouse gas emissions for, was on 7 of those vehicles. So just bear in mind that it is a sample set. We collected, there were 4 years that was sent to me. 2 of them were full years. So I just focused on the 2 full years. The partial years, there's 1 partial year, is last year, 2022. I think the program had stopped somewhere in the middle of the year. So we need to pick up the last few data points of 2022. So 2 years is what we had full. And then the greenhouse gas emissions that I was able to assess were carbon dioxide, CH4 is methane, and N2O is nitrous oxide. So what does that look like? Here is a graph for 2 years from 2020, January 2020 through December 2021. You can see there's a variation. There's a little bit more greenhouse gas emissions in 2021. I think the reason for that is that in 2021, I was picking up, in 2020, it was mostly all diesel vehicles. And then in 2021, there was some additional data added for gasoline powered vehicles. And the mileage in 2021 went up as well. So again, this is just a subset of vehicles. So it turned out to be about 7,200 metric tons per month of greenhouse gas emissions that those sample vehicles are putting into the atmosphere. So it's, pretty substantial. Battle Creek's a small town compared to, to much larger towns. This would be a small amount, but 7,200 tons is not insignificant. Another thing I was able to determine from this was particulate emissions. Probably most of you are familiar with that. Particulate emissions are just what they sound. They're the particles, different elements, different chemicals that come out of exhaust when you combust fossil fuels. So diesel is by far and away the fuel of choice for the transit department. And diesel is one of the higher emitters of particle emission. That's abbreviated as PM. So PM emissions are not a greenhouse gas per se, but they do have health consequences. And it's something that when I was analyzing the greenhouse gas data, I could pretty easily get my hands on estimates for the PM emissions. So you can see that there's these emissions are shown in grams. So it does it, if you look at the health consequences of these things, this is a fairly substantial bit of emissions. I won't go into all of that here because it's kind of off the rails, but it's just something I wanted to show that we could collect. When I talked about what the sustainability plan had to say and what the mandate was, one of the things was to lower the cost. So I associated cost with the amount of fuel burned. Here, the red line, you see the amount of diesel fuel that was burned over that 2-year period. That's in gallons. So, it's running, I think it averages out to about 6,500 gallons per month. And the blue line is the amount of gasoline that was recorded in those sample vehicles, the fuel usage and gallons used in gasoline. Here is the bar chart. Here is that same total emissions that the city put out over that 2-year period. And the blue line in there is the amount of gasoline or the amount of fuel used. So you can see that it's probably a little bit intuitive that emissions go pretty closely with the amount of fuel that we're burning. So again, this is 97% of this is diesel fuel. And of course, diesel fuel emits considerably more greenhouse gas emissions than gasoline do or alternative vehicle emissions. So that's what that was. Folks, I'm burning through this really fast so I don't consume too much time. So one of the other things I looked at was what options would there be if the city was to embrace alternative fuel vehicles? So I did some analysis on, if you look at the green bar to the left, this is our current. I tried to link the emissions, which is what the blue, the grayish line is, the total emissions that are associated with different types of alternative fuel vehicles. The green bar on the left is our current situation with diesel. The number amounts is the estimated cost in diesel fuel that was spent. So you can see if you, as an estimate, if you moved over to a CNG, compressed natural gas vehicle, you can see where the amount of fuel required to run one of those might go down. You can see with the line, there's a corresponding drop in greenhouse gas emissions. Diesel hybrid vehicles, they could, in estimated, could drive up fuel cost a little bit, but you get a little bit more lowering of greenhouse gas emissions. The final green bar on the right would be an electric fleet. Now, again, this is comparing just these 7 sample vehicles. So you could see there would be a substantial, potentially lower cost in energy cost. And there's, if you look at that right-hand side, the green bar is an electric vehicle that is charged off in the grid. So if you plugged it into consumer's line, there would be that amount of money potentially associated with it. And then you see the second one, which is 0, is an electric vehicle that was charged 100% off in renewable sources. To make this chart, I studied several different cities that had done these same sort of things. So it was, you know, I could see where other cities were able to produce these sort of results. I pulled all the data off there. And I think I'd mentioned to Patty and Bessie that all of the information that I present here, I've documented very well. So if anybody had any questions about it, we could certainly talk about where did these numbers come from. So this second to the last slide here is just showing at the top, this is what the sustainability plan once again says for what is our goal to reduce overall fuel use costs and emissions. Down there you see in the United States, what other plans, national goals that have been established that support this support Battle Creek sustainability plan. We have national goals. We have a national plan for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, very detailed plan produced by the federal government on how cities and towns and states can go about lowering those emissions. It also talks a little bit about the funding sources that are available to help cities. We have rejoined the Paris Climate Accord. That's point number 4, working with 190 other countries committed to holding planetary warming to no more than 1.5 degrees. So this is in accordance again with Battle Creek's plan to lower greenhouse gas emissions. And then the IPCC, which is a renowned scientific organization that the United States plays a major role in, they kind of confirm this plan of having to lower emissions by 50% within the next 7 years. So if you can imagine, you know, many cities are like Battle Creek, they have diesel fleets, and what would you have to do to lower those emissions by 50%? It's a fairly big undertaking, but it can definitely be done. So Battle Creek is not alone in this. That's kind of what this chart was about, to show that there's a lot of support within the nation to try to get this work done. Final slide was just after going through all of this and putting all this together, I had a few suggested next steps that we could consider. And as we move through the year, we should probably measure the remaining vehicles. Instead of just a sample set, we might be able to measure all the vehicles that the city uses. We should establish regular emissions monitoring and updates, perhaps at this committee. We could, the one thing we need to do would be develop a full cost analysis for adopting low or no emission vehicles. The estimates that I showed on that chart are definitely estimates. There is some data that's left out of those that we would have to get our heads around. So, you know, I show these things, but definitely to consider doing them as we'd want to do a deeper analysis on it. Once we did that analysis, we could determine which of those options would be best for lowering emissions. And we'd have, the city would have to look at funding sources. I went through quite a few funding sources. There is ample money out there from the federal government and from the state to help with these sort of transitions. There would have to be a pathway and timelines established for how transit would go about doing that. So that in a nutshell was it. I don't know how long I took, Patty, but I went through it as fast as I could.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yep. I hope we can continue to look at this.
So Bob, if we were to say every 6 months, give you the latest fleet data, not fleet, transit data, how long would that take you to?
Well, now that I built all of the back end of this, if you gave me data every 6 months, I should be able to turn this out in less than a week. So, because we pretty much have everything built now. So it's pretty easy to calculate the emissions once I get the data.
Well, pretty interesting. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm glad. I appreciate the city looking at this and embracing this kind of thing. If you're at the city, if you're a worker at the city, this is a big deal, and it's something that you have to walk through slowly. But Battle Creek is looking at it, and I certainly commend the city for doing that.
Well, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Bob on that information?
No, I will catch all of you later. Thank you for letting me in the meeting.
Okay, thanks,
All right.
Roger.
A couple new faces.
Well, okay, did we have some people join us?
Sarah,
Oh, hi, Sarah.
Yeah.
And then Michelle. Hello. Okay, well, I'm gonna go back and share the screen and get back on the agenda here. The forester provided the initial forestry plan for us. Kurt, do you want to say a couple words about that, or put you on the spot, but
Yeah, he has it, and I think that I was thinking it was draft, but I think it's ready to be shared. I think we can probably share that in the next meeting. So he's going to use that management plan to help get some grants. We're going to enter into the American Tree Farm System certification, and that will help us to receive additional grants. And at the moment, we're targeting a harvest for along the Jackson River to Clark Road or Custer Drive. I'm hoping within a year we'll have that a small harvest out of there. And then we're also looking at Fell Park, not so much as a harvest, but to do some mitigation of some. There's a locust grove that's starting to try to take over, so we want to mitigate that a bit. Add some grasses and type of along the tree forests to keep the mesas from entering in. So, and we kind of want to use that as maybe a showcase to get public involvement in that. To hopefully find some trees that we could actually add and supplement and plant. So more to come on that. Did I leave anything out there?
I think that's pretty good. So yep, that kind of covers it. But if anyone would like to see the forestry plan, I think we can share it now. Do you think, Kurt? Okay, yep, okay. Yep. Did you have a question?
I think you want to see it.
Yeah, I was just saying I would love to see the plan
Okay.
whenever
Great.
available.
Our next bullet point, so Sarah, I don't know if you want to chat on this a little bit, but we had an idea of maybe turning the next sustainability meeting into a working meeting, helping the county with one of their recycling events that's coming up in April. And Sarah, I don't have the date offhand, but if you want to give us a little something on that.
Okay, let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, my computer's being really glitchy. It made me update Zoom and it did not want to open it up for you, and it's been a struggle. So my event is April 24th at Bailey Park. And so it starts, our published start time is noon and it goes until 5:30. Obviously, I wouldn't expect everybody to stay the full time if the committee would come and help out with it. But it is our largest event that we've had since the pandemic. So we've grouped household hazardous waste with appliances and electronics. And so it will be a larger event than we've held the last like 2-3 years. And so we could use a lot of help, and generally we do get a lot of City of Battle Creek folks at this event because it's at Bailey Park. And there's so many things that we're taking at the event, and it would be a good time for the committee members to kind of interact with the public, see the type of material that people are getting rid of in the community, what they have. It's interesting because last year when we were at Bailey Park in April, we collected like the largest number of propane cylinders that our household hazardous waste vendor has ever collected at an event before. So, but it's just a nice, it's outside. We'll have water, and mostly I would need help with directing traffic, like clicking and counting how many vehicles are going through, pointing people in the right direction of where they need to go to get their things. We'll probably have to do a little bit of unloading of some items, but we try to have enough people, like our electronics will be pretty much the electronics vendors unloading that. And we are going to be sending all of our items that have Freon back with the electronics vendor. So we're not going to be removing the Freon in the parking lot this year at Bailey Park. But that's basically what we have going on. But I would love to have more help, and it's a good way to get out and see people recycling harder to recycle items in the community.
Hey, Sarah, you know, the household hazardous waste is all handled by.
Yep, that's by vendor too. So it's
Okay.
mostly what we have to deal with is some of the appliances and directing traffic.
Michelle, you had a question?
Actually, it's a suggestion. If you actually need some coordinated bodies, the Leadership Academy will often help with events like this if they're asked in enough time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And yep, Kathy?
I'm sorry to make you repeat this, but you're talking April 24, Monday. And
Yes.
again, what times, please?
It's published to run noon to 5:30. Sometimes we do start early just because we do not like to have a huge line. So it's possible it'll start a little bit before that, but we do let, we have the volunteers and staff use the road just north of Bailey Park to park in the parking lots along the C.O. Brown Stadium. So you can kind of come and go as needed, and you don't have to go through the event line to come and go.
Great. Well, I'm not sure what we have to do to make an official change of a meeting. Do you know that? We can look into
Exactly sure.
the legal aspects of changing a meeting to a working meeting and get back to you, but well, I think, do we have some thoughts on that? Is everybody on board with doing something like that?
I recalled us doing that, I believe, when we went to the solar area, but I don't know what was all involved in making
You're
it.
right. Yep, you're right, Kiona. So it looks like we can do it. So, but yep, okay, I'll keep you, I'll look into it. And
Was that a meeting or a visitation?
It was kind of like a tour.
yeah, but it was on our meeting time, I think.
Oh, was
it? Yeah.
Yeah, so.
It's in lieu of, actually. Yep, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, precedence.
So we kind of, I mean, should we vote on it? We have a quorum. Should we vote on something like that? Like, I mean, because the next meeting is, we're not gonna have a meeting before that. So
I agree.
can I
Okay.
make a motion to say that we have a working volunteering on April 24th instead of a sit-down meeting?
Okay, Bessie motion, do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Oh, Lisa's talking, okay.
Hi.
Hi,
So what we would actually do is we would actually cancel the April meeting
Okay,
like we did the August one when you guys took that field trip. So you would
Okay.
just cancel your April meeting and then you'd be free to do the event.
okay, thanks, Lisa, that was easy. All right. Okay, thank you.
I think you need a motion. on it.
Do you still need a motion?
Motion to cancel the meeting? Okay, yes, so I'll motion to cancel the in-person meeting or Zoom meeting, April 24th.
So, and add it in the volunteer meeting.
And instead meet to volunteer at Bailey Park.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Anyone opposed?
Yeah, is anyone opposed? Okay, all right, back to the agenda here. Let's see, we're wrapping it up. Okay, so we're just gonna give you the new format for the Canoe the Kazoo, which is our annual paddling event that's been going on for many, many years. Do you want to talk about it, Bessie? Or
Yeah, sure. And if I could add a couple more things too,
Oh, sure.
just an update on
Yep, yep.
other stuff. So yeah, Canoe the Kazoo. We would like to this year do some smaller, more in-person canoe events more locally in the city with some of the underserved communities and possibly some youth. Our planning department or small business development group has some kayaks, and so we're working with them to hopefully do some small kayaking routes through the city there, right downtown, and maybe do it during the week, maybe Thursdays or something like that. He's done some fun like nighttime, like 30-minute floats at night through the by Clara's and ending at Hand Map there, or right, Hand Map? Is it Hand Map? Yeah. So that's kind of going forward what we'd like to do this year, and probably following the next few years, because we see a lot of the same, experienced kayakers, they're always very grateful, but we feel like there's other communities we really need to reach. But Kathy?
I love that idea of reaching the communities that typically wouldn't partake of this event. I was going to urge you, Bessie, since you had talked about attending NPC meetings, the Washington Heights NPC is a pretty active one. I believe, I'm not 100% sure about their meeting time, but I think it's on the same day ours is.
It's the second Tuesday, Kathy.
It's Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm a part of that.
Cool. Well, there you go. There's your connection. I know Pastor French has been doing a really good job of involving and engaging her community, and may also have some connections to the youth that meet there on a regular basis for after-school programs. So that might be a really good connection for you and getting non-traditional folks canoeing on the kazoo.
Yeah. Well, and links to that, also to all of our other events, our recycling events, and things like that, and another part of the NPC too, what I really want to do this year is reach out and focus mostly on gauging the scrap tires in the communities and trying to get those tires in those neighborhoods who have trouble maybe transporting them to our events, but we really want to try to clean up as best we can. So that would be, those would be kind of my main focuses if I, get it to those NPC meetings. Sorry, I'm all over the place. The Children's Water Festival, we're doing totes again this year. I beat last year's number. I have 560 kids registered. There's 20 classes. So it's pretty exciting. Adding a couple activities to the totes this year as well. So I'll send the links to the video when I get that set so you guys can get an idea of what that entails this year. Also, the city has a styrofoam polystyrene number 6 collection event March 15th from 3 to 6 here at DPW. So Kathy's volunteered. If anyone else wants to volunteer, Again, even if it's just for an hour, styrofoam's pretty easy. It's a fun one to do as long as the weather cooperates. So far we got probably 8 to 12 volunteers, but it never helps to have more. So, I believe that's it.
Well, Green Barrel sales.
Oh,
going on
yes,
too,
yep.
So,
And yep, get your Green Barrel sales in, I think before March 30th.
so I think unless anybody else has anything to add, I think that wraps up our.
Sarah, have any-
Oh,
any more
Sarah,
to
do
say?
you wanna have anything to add right now?
Let's see. I don't know if you can see it. So I will be getting this to you guys. It's the Calhoun County Recycling Guide. So I have it now in a printable form.
Sweet.
And I think the county just put it out on one of their media releases that they put out to all of our residents. So I can get this to you now.
Thank you. We've been waiting for that for a while. We're so excited. Thanks. Kathy?
Thank you for recognizing me again, although you probably didn't want to. Sarah, I had a question. I noticed with our recycling week this week and the horrible rain that we had this morning, a lot of people's recycle bins were open and rainwater was just pouring in. Is all that stuff going to be ditched or because it's not supposed to be wet?
Well,
Sorry to ask.
ideally the cardboard and paper stuff stays dry. So our stuff is going, so the stuff that gets picked up in Battle Creek, if you remember, you didn't get to participate in it, but we went on a tour of the facility in Indiana. So that our material for the city of Battle Creek and what recycling gets collected at the landfill goes to the Kalamazoo transfer station and gets dumped out and combined with all their curbside stuff and then hauled to Indiana. So hopefully it'll be in okay shape. But like currently some of the MRFs even in Michigan put their cardboard outside. It's not ideal to get it wet. It's better to keep it dry. But I think we'll be okay. My biggest concern was it was a bit windy too, so hopefully not a whole lot of curbside carts tipped over and blew all over the place. I know that's happened before at my house before, so it's not fun chasing down stuff. So.
Okay, did you have anything else, Sarah?
No, I think we'll just be waiting to see the new Part 115 laws come into effect the end of March. So hopefully we'll be hearing more information on that. I think the biggest thing right now that we'll be learning about that would impact the city of Battle Creek would be the permits for compost centers. So large compost centers and then compost centers doing class 2 material. So if you compost biosolids or if you have a compost center that's going to compost chopped up marijuana from the grow facilities, those are now they would be permitted facilities. And so that changes things, and they have like a $20,000 financial assurance and a 5-year permit that's like $1,000.
Okay, yeah, we didn't know that, so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to stay on top of it just because I'm trying to identify all of the local businesses and local units of government that might be impacted by some of the changes. And I'm in a subcommittee working with Christina Miller, who's in charge of solid waste planning for Eagle. And so we're working on creating like educational information that's going to be available to all the counties so they can understand the new planning process and what all the new rules mean and how to go through the whole process. But at the county side of things, It doesn't sound like the director, Eagle director can't call for new county plans until sometime in September. And they're saying since they have an interim director right now, it may actually take place after even potentially October. So it sounds like it's going to be a bit of a delay in the process of the county starting the planning process. But some of those things they start in March. So depending on what, the rules for different things. So hopefully Eagle is holding a retreat and they're going through all of the legislation this week on March 1st and 2nd. And so hopefully they'll be able to start releasing more information out to the counties and local units of government, and then all the people doing composting across the state of Michigan. So we can all kind of get up on the same page and understand what's going to happen and what the time frame is for all the changes.
Sarah, would the county be required to do the permitting then, or would that still be?
No, it would all be Eagle. Yeah, it would all be Eagle. So.
Okay.
Simplify the permit.
Sarah, could I ask a question about that? Do you have any idea like what volume of composting would be subject to these new?
I have it. Okay, so when it comes to your normal composting materials, the class 1 material, it would be facilities that are over 10,000 cubic yards. But once you mix any of their category 2, well, their class 2 material in, so that would be mixed municipal solid waste, biosolids, state or federal controlled substances, and any material that's not listed or approved as a class 1 throws you into class 2, and all class 2 have to do the same permit process as the large class 1 facilities.
So you said all.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what the volume is.
I
If you
see.
put if you're going to compost one of the class 2 items, you have to do the same permit process that the large regular compost centers do.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah. I don't.
You're welcome.
I don't see anyone from planning here today, so we don't have any updates there. And then city commission, no one present from there at this point. So I'll go back to the agenda here real quick. We're getting close here. Sustainability plan, we had just talked about needing to do updates sometime this year, but we haven't made any decision on how we're going to go about that quite yet. So we'll wait for Andy on that. Other business, I see Michelle is here. Would you like to talk to us about the Art Center water event?
Yes, please. Hello, everybody. Thanks for letting me be part of this. We've come a long way since our last meeting, and we've actually gotten some funding from the Binda Foundation, which is always a good thing because they're kind of like the good housekeeping seal of approval that we've been vetted and what we're doing makes sense and it's a good return on investment. And we have a lot of other things in the works. We also received funding from the Michigan Sea Grant program, which connects us more on a state level, which we're excited about too. So for those of you that haven't had a chance to look at the packet yet that was sent, or it's been a while, I wanted to just remind you, this is an all ages, multimedia, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics exhibit. So a STEAM exhibit. And the purpose is really to have people become engaged in issues around water and conservation through the arts. So we're trying to balance it between helping people learn about arts and all the different ways artists can take information and data and express it, or their interpretation of the world in any medium. And then also really attract conservation people, like people who are artists or art admirers go to the art center or want to build skills. But sometimes somebody that might self-identify as a conservationist wouldn't. They're outside doing their thing. So we really are going to ask for a lot of cross-marketing among nonprofit groups, activist groups, and cause-related groups, nonprofits all over the place, with a big focus on Battle Creek and Calhoun County. The things I was hoping, and we'll have over 75 artists presented in different mediums. And some of it will be video because they're too big or expensive to actually bring here. So we'll scroll them and show them. But I feel like we're bringing some things to Calhoun County that people who can travel to Chicago and New York can see, but people that live here that generally don't get to those places would. So I'm very excited. And then we're partnering with all kinds of groups from King Museum for various collections, and then really trying to provide, I've even called the Leventhal Map Center in Boston to, like, what are the maps that we can use that show water bodies? And so really trying to pull together some of the best resources in the country to provide a fresh look at this. And it's meant to help people think about how they already enjoy water so that they want to protect it more. And then what are some of the ways people can take actions to be a water hero? And then we'll probably do some formal recognition of water heroes, whether they're a group or an individual. And that could be an 8-year-old that's helping with a well in someplace, or your river cleanup group, or your canoe the kazoo when you're getting non-traditional groups involved. What I was hoping from today's discussion, and I'm not going to talk after this, unless you have questions, is I feel like sustainability and then the Battle Creek Clean Water Partners are the two most relevant groups to this kind of work, besides an actual watershed or conservation group like the Calhoun County District. So I'm hoping that somehow we can show that sustainability, I know you're focused more on transit, but it still falls under the water still falls under sustainability. I was hoping that you might schedule a field trip. I would love to have all of you actually come in with your friends, family, colleagues, and it could be at any time, or it could be as a group, and then we could do a special activity with you, or you could be presenting a program to the public and we'll make sure the public is there. Cross marketing in general, which would include hopefully putting something in the utility bills that are sent to people's homes about the event. And then any city internal and external communications. And then because you're talking about these events like Cruise the Canoe and the Rain Barrel and the recycling events, I would hope that, and it wouldn't be on you to do this, but someone would be there to help share, save the date or invitations, depending on when it is. And then you have resource content that's fantastic from a lot of the different groups that you're involved in. So we would just share that on, we're gonna have a Be a Water Hero website and social media sites, as well as the art centers. So, and there was a reason for doing that, so that if there was something, and I'll just give an example, if we were had a wine sponsor for a particular event, you might not want to share that because that's not relevant to your populations. But that way you could just pick what you want off the Be a Water Hero onto whatever site you're helping to keep fresh. And then the other thing is, if you had reps from your groups that had a particular interest, like I'm thinking the forestry plan would be really interesting, or the sustainability plan as an actual presentation and discussion, that those are, again, special programs that we could offer. They could be pre-recorded and done as a video, or they could be done live. So that would be up to you. And then the final thing is, it would be helpful if possible, because I think it would show formal, not collaboration, but coordination, is if there were a cash or an in-kind between $200 and $1,000 if possible. And the reason why I chose those levels is 200 is sort of like sponsoring a day. So you would clearly be recognized in all those ways for a day, and up to 1,000 is for a week. So, and it doesn't mean that we won't be sharing the content year round. Then this is a one-off event in terms of an exhibit, but I have a feeling it's going to continue on and possibly be annual and grow as time goes on. So any questions with what I said, or things that I could clarify?
Can you remind us the dates again, Michelle?
Yes, it's going to be September 20th, which is a Wednesday, through Tuesday, October 31st. So we're ending with a Be a Water Hero Halloween party.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any questions for Michelle?
Michelle, you had mentioned about people coming out for a field trip. Where would that be located at?
It's located at the Art Center of Battle Creek.
Okay. Thank you.
Is this something you want to talk about with me here, or should I go away?
Oh, we're actually have like 3 minutes to wrap up the meeting, so you're welcome to stay. So, okay. I'm going to get back to our agenda and see up there. Oh, trains is on the agenda here. I think that was probably, Franklin, was that your
Yes, it was. And in Andy's email before the meeting, I think he said he was going to postpone that to
Oh,
talk
okay,
about later. I did get a response from the city manager, from Rebecca.
Okay.
So
great.
yeah.
Yep, okay, thank you. Then I think unless we have any other public comments or there's no public here besides Michelle, I think. And then member comments or announcements, now's the time. If anybody has anything else they'd like to add. Kathy?
Thank you. Can we ensure that, our next meeting is not April? Wow. I was just gonna say, can we put on our agenda for the next meeting to talk about this field trip? Because I think that would be really cool. We never think about field trips within our own zip code, it seems like, and I would very much like to support the Art Center and do a field trip there, but we're looking at talking about it in July now, right?
Okay. Okay, that still gives us time, I think, so, okay, yep, yeah, I'll make a note to put that on the next agenda then. And feel free to communicate via email to the group as well, so. Well, all right, I think that wraps it up. Thank you everyone for showing up and your input, and we'll be in touch via email and hopefully see you at Bailey Park in April, helping out Sarah, so.
Perfect. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right.